So the fact that it's not ESPN branded, it doesn't have ESPN people, actually because it's not ESPN, we get David Pollack because he's not an ESPN employee. What is up, everybody? It is Jake back with the MF Film Room. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA College Football, hit that red subscribe button. Remember, right now we got ourselves a special. If we can get this channel to 1,000 subs by July 14th at midnight, I am going to be gifting out to one of my subscribers a free deluxe edition of the game. PlayStation, Xbox, doesn't matter. And if you already got the game, I'll just give you $100 cash. So hit that red subscribe button, also hit the like button, and follow me on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. If you like college football content, go to my other channel, link in the description, Master Football with Jake Posey. But enough about all that EA college football content. Let's go. All right, guys, we had that awesome gameplay reveal this last Friday, a couple updates as well. Last week was a fantastic week. I had arguably the most subscribers I've ever had, also with that contest that's going on. Please hit that red subscribe button. But again, continuing on here, I want to make sure we discuss some things because we're finding out what is in the game. And we're going to go through more specifics of that as it comes on. From what I understand, I already said this before in a couple of my other videos, I am a little upset because we didn't get the full reveal in May. We got a full review of what the game looks like, but it sounds like the full reveal of Dynasty, Road to Glory, what it actually looks like, what recruiting actually looks like, what those 11 coaching trees look like, is going to happen periodically throughout the month of June. Again, that's what's coming out. What we do know is in the game. There's also things that we know that are not in the game. Over here on themirror.co.uk, and we see this. It says EA Sports 25 changes Road to Glory, start and scraps fan favorite mode. So as you know, it comes down here and it mentions the fact that EA College Football no longer has the high school. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'm playing that right now downstairs on my other, my Xbox, checking out and seeing, what it's like to be a running back, what it's like to be a strong safety. Also, I'll let you know on Heisman difficulty, if you play defense and you don't play offense, your offense sucks. But continuing on, we see the fact that they said no high school and Road to Glory and no mascot mode. It was a cherished feature that allows players to field as their team's mascot instead of their players. All the players were all 99 in all categories. It was kind of a fun little unique thing. We know it's not in the game for EA College Football 25. So what I want to do is I want to go through some of those things that are confirmed to not be in the game. Go through the specific groups that there are, as well as I have 4 different tiers here of the groups of them in terms of how important and how unimportant or how impactful and unimpactful they would be. Let's get going. So from a game modes and features perspective, we already know in Road to Glory, there's no high school season and there's no cinematic story. We know from mascot mode, it's not going to be in the game. The cinematic story, meaning if you were to play Madden, they were going to have, a superstar mode and there might be a little bit of a cinematic, like, hey man, basically what Mike Straw said in his report, he was like, it's not a Spike Lee joint, okay? It's just going to be, you play, you get updates on your cell phone and you go on from there. All right, from a functionality perspective, there's a couple things that aren't in this game. As we all know, there's no crossplay on Dynasty. They did mention that for the road to the college football playoff, it sounds like there is going to be crossplay between Xbox and PlayStation. But for Dynasty, as of right now, and they were very adamant about saying, as of right now, there's no crossplay on Dynasty. As to whether or not that's going to be on EA College Football 25 after an update, or it's going to be on EA College Football 26, a future game. No word on that as of yet. We know that the game is not on PC, so that's another functionality thing that is not in this game. We also know from a functionality perspective, you're not able to export your draft class to Madden. One of the big issues with that, though, is the collective or the agreement that the player signed was with college football and not with the NFL. They're two different ones. They even said after 4 years, when all those players are off, or potentially actually 5 years after all those players are off the roster and it's just computer-generated players, then can you pull the draft classes off? The answer is still no. All right, from a presentation perspective, we all know here that there's no ESPN. They have a lot of those ESPN personalities. However, we know that David Pollack is not an ESPN personality. He was actually laid off by ESPN a couple weeks ago, I think a couple months ago. But, Reese Davis, you've got Kirk Herbstreit, you got Chris Fowler, you got Jesse Palmer, you have Kevin Connors in the studio. So again, all those are ESPN personalities. David Pollack isn't, but if you individually contract with them, you can still do it like that. That's what they did. Some of the intro songs are missing. I know that, like Enter Sandman, I believe, is missing for Virginia Tech. There's a couple other songs that are missing as well. Texas State's Upper Deck is missing. I know that was one that they were like, hey, what the heck is going on here? Where's our Upper Deck? That is being addressed at this point. Same thing with the Red River rivalry. The crowd, what they did was they had a mixed crowd, and in reality, it's basically Oklahoma's always on this side, Texas is always on this side, and it's 100% split crowd down the middle. That is being addressed. And then something else from a presentation perspective here is Hawaii is the only stadium that either isn't going to be a past stadium or a future stadium. They have just a generic stadium because Hawaii is, unfortunately, Aloha Stadium got condemned. You literally can't even go there. It is actually like unsafe to go there because of all the rust. But it is just going to be a generic stadium for them. So technically, their actual stadium is not in the game as well. There's also a couple miscellaneous things that aren't in the game, and we know one of them is the Idaho Vandals. That's because they're the only team ever to go from FBS back down to FCS. Most teams that go up, they stay up. We've got those 9 new ones that I'm going to have a video coming out on that later on. But the Idaho Vandals also, they're not in the game. Again, they can't get in the game, although unless there's going to be some sort of FCS import, we don't know. It sounds like from Matt Brown's perspective that that's not going to be a DLC for this game. I mean, they've got 100 extra stadiums and all the licensing with those players and paying those players, and it's a huge quagmire to get through. Not going to happen with this game. They can't get mascot mode. They're certainly not going to get the FCS in this game. They also mentioned here specifically Wake Forest's slow mesh plays. They do have an RPO-heavy playbook that was able to be used by Chris Vanini of The Athletic, but he notes here that they aren't in the game as of now, but they should be in the final iteration of the game. According to some devs, Chris Vanini from The Athletic says he did not see any specific slow mesh plays in their playbook. It's one of the first playbooks he checked out. Appreciate that, Chris. And then also, as well, something that's not in the game are Superstar and X Factor players, similar to the way Madden is. So there's 4 tiers. I want to rank all of those things in terms of their importance to the game or not. First tier, tier 1 is going to be like, I'm actually glad that it's not in the game. Tier 2 is going to be like, whatever. Tier 3 is going to be, yeah, that's a little bit of a miss there. And then tier 4 is going to be like, that is a definitive miss from EA. Let's get into that list right now. All right, so for tier 4, good that it's gone. These are the things that I'm actually happy that they are not in the game. First one here is Superstar / X Factor players, and they even mentioned there that there's no guarantees. They were very adamant last Friday and previously to that. They said there's no guarantees, no guarantees. As you know, with Superstar and X Factor players in Madden, sometimes if somebody's on fire, they're going to be incredibly difficult to stop to the point to where it's almost impossible. That's not in the game. There's going to be moderate or significant or maximum boost to certain ability to certain traits based on their abilities. That actually might be around certain ratings based on their traits, but we're not going to see any sort of guarantees. Also see that Hawaii's actual stadium, it's like the TC Ching Athletic Complex. It only holds like 4,000 people. I'm actually kind of glad that it's not in the game. So if you're Hawaii, you can actually have a home field advantage if you were to fill that thing out. That's a good thing in the game. You don't want to punish them because of a construction situation. We also know the Road to Glory cinematic story. So if they were to have a Road to Glory cinematic story, say that 5 times fast, it would, after a while, you would kind of get annoyed with it. You're like, okay, I'm kind of done with this story. I already know all these things. I've already broken up with my girlfriend 3 times. It's just one of those things that you just don't really care about. I'm playing Road to Glory right now, downstairs on NCAA 2014. And the fact that it just goes straight into the high school season, or even if it went straight into the college season, there's a little bit of miss there. And we're going to get into that later on into these tiers. But in terms of no cinematic story, it doesn't really hurt me that much. All right, 3 things that I'm not really bothered about them losing. Idaho Vandals, obviously, they're just not in the game because of the FBS, FCS designation. It doesn't really bother me because to get them into the game, it would really, really taken a lot more resources, maybe delayed the game another year or 2 to get them and all the other FCS teams into the game. No ESPN does not bother me. A lot of people were really, no ESPN, that does not bother me. Like I said, the presentation, the score icons down below with down the distance, the quarter, that was actually pretty beautiful. I actually like the way that it looked. So the fact that it's not ESPN branded, it doesn't have ESPN people, actually because it's not ESPN, we get David Pollack because he's not an ESPN employee. So it's one of the small aspects of that too. Mascot mode literally does not bother me at all. In the same way that Bordeaux, he's a pretty good YouTuber. He's like, dude, you play it once or twice and you're done. Or if you have kids, you give it to them and they play it. But they don't play it like consistent. They're going to play an entire round of, mascot mode, tournaments or something like that. It's kind of fun. It's interesting. You would have think, though, because how easy it is to put into the game, just make everybody 99 and put those guys in the game. But remember here, whether or not they have the motion capture to do it, they can map the games. I mean, the Syracuse orange guy is literally just a big orange. He's weird. He moves through his body. It's just a weird dynamic. But the fact that it's not in the game, Doesn't really hurt my feelings that much. Also, Texas State's Upper Deck and Red River Rivalries crowd split. Those are all being addressed, so I'm not worried about them because it sounds like they're being ironed out right now. All right, so these are things that are add value when they are included. So we had tier 4, things that I'm glad that they were gone. Tier 3, things that I didn't really care about. Tier 2, this actually does impact the game a little bit here in terms of the quality of the product. The first one there is the Wake Forest slow mesh plays. The reason why I say it adds value when it's included is because it is being included, but it's taken them this long. Which means, do you think it's going to be fully fleshed? They've had months and months and months of alpha testing and then beta testing to truly figure out how it actually, works. That's what I'm a little worried about here, because remember, they've got the veer and shoot, those really wide, sets. They actually specifically showed that from, Tennessee and from Oklahoma, those really, really wide sets. But Wake Forest, unfortunately, they're not as big of a brand as Oklahoma or Tennessee. So people are like, yeah, maybe we don't have to pay as much time there. This is one that I'm really, really specifically looking forward to when the game comes out. It's probably going to be, it might be tuned too badly, tuned too well. I don't know. We'll see as it progresses here. Also, some of those intro songs missing, like we said, we don't have, Enter Sandman for Virginia Tech. We don't have Jump Around for Wisconsin. There's a couple others as well. So it sucks that those aren't in the game. Those are pretty easy to add. Now, they're easy to add in terms of the addition. They're hard to add in terms of it sounds like they cost a lot of money to do that. We all know that, Metallica is very adamant about making sure they protect their brand. Again, that's an old school allusion to them in Napster. Also, Road to Glory not having a high school season, I think that it does add value. Right now, I think what it's going to happen for Road to Glory is it sounds like you're just going to pick who you are, pick the star of athlete that you are, and then you kind of go through a recruiting process and pick where you want to go. I do think it actually builds some character when you actually get to play as them. Now, does it have to be 10 games and then up to 4 games in the playoffs, 14 games? That's a bit much in my perspective. And actually, I'm going through this right now. I played a strong safety for 2 games and a running back for 3 games. And it kind of takes a long time to get through. I actually tried to adjust the games, and every time it does, my Xbox freezes. But yeah, so again, not having that season, it does add some value. Maybe as the superstar mode for Madden knows, where they're like, okay, well just go through the playoffs. Okay, cool, that's cool. Just go through the playoffs. Well, for Road to Glory, I think you have something similar to that. The farther you go, the farther you go, and the better you do, the higher you're rated. Something like that would have added some value. And then the no draft class export. It is something that would add value. The reason why it's tier 2 is because it would have been as hard as the intro songs the cost was. Can you imagine the only thing that could make that 4th one, that no draft class export, come through is a bunch of lawyers between the NFL and the NCAA and every single individual player who was sent their agreement. It's just, that would have been an absolute quagmire to actually implement. The fact that it's not there, like I said, it would have added value, but the amount of value it would have added versus how much it would have cost EA College Football, I'm actually okay with it not being in the game. It's even with the fact that it would have added value being in the game. And then tier 1, huge misses here. Again, EA, I've been really excited about this game in a lot of different ways. The only things I've been critical of so far was, one, as you guys have known, the fact that their full reveal in May was not as full, I think, as people were looking for. But then also these 2 here. The game not on PC, okay, maybe a little bit, but the no crossplay on Dynasty. You've only been working with 2 systems. How long it actually takes to implement a system that works on that, I don't know. It sounds like they've got the road to the college football playoff. So they wanted PvP to be in the game in some capacity, and they were like, do we prioritize Dynasty or road to the college football playoff, which might mean we could set up some tournaments, we could do this, we could do that, whereas Dynasty, it's just kind of your own thing. Makes a little bit of sense there, but I do think those 2 are the big misses from things that we definitively know are not going to be in the game. So for those things that are missing in the game, like I said, I think that the biggest ones are the no crossplay and then the no PC. Everything else, though, is kind of adjustable there. I'm really interested to see if they figure out the slow mesh plays. Chris Vanini from The Athletic has not seen any of those in the game when he got his hands on it. So again, I think the cool thing about this is we're probably going to get that with later games, EA CFB 26, 27, 28. But for right now, those things not in the game. Again, the list there, most one that hurts my feelings would have to be that crossplay in Dynasty. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. What are you worried about, not worried about? You miss it. You don't really care of the things that aren't in the game that you are like, yeah, I like it. I don't. You tell me in the comments right now and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, that contest, get me to 1,000 subs by July 14th, 2024 at midnight. And one free deluxe edition of the game, PlayStation or Xbox, I will give it to you. And if not, you already have it, I'll give you $100 cash. Hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also hit the like button and follow me on Twitter/X. That's it for me, guys. I will see you guys later. I am out.